Swadika, good morning and thank you for joining us on Newsline for Wednesday, December 4th of 2013. My name is Sandra Hanut-Saha. In today's top stories, Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has addressed the nation to call on all sides to cooperate with the government in creating peace. And now on to today's headlines. Prime Minister and Defense Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has led civil servants from across the country to take an oath of allegiance on the occasion of His Majesty the King's 86th birthday anniversary this December 5th. Accompanied by cabinet members, high-ranking military and police officers, civil servants and state enterprise employees, Prime Minister Yingluck chaired the oath-taking ceremony on the auspicious occasion of His Majesty the King's upcoming birthday. The oath-takers pledged that they would serve their country and be loyal to the King. They also vowed to follow His Majesty's footsteps and contribute to the society the same way His Majesty has devoted himself to his people and his nation throughout his reign. Later on, Ms. Yingluck and the others sang the song Father of the Land as well as the royal anthem in honor of His Majesty. The oath-taking ceremony has been organized every year by the Office of the Civil Service Commission since the year 2000. The objective is to instill loyalty to the nation, religion, and monarchy among state officials. His Majesty the King's Guards from the three armed forces staged a rehearsal of their parade to mark the King's birthday on December 5th. The rehearsal was led by Major General Wara Bunyasit, commander of the 1st Infantry Division of the Royal Guards, and participated by combined military forces from 12 battalions, including Horse Guards. The Trooping the Color and Oath-taking ceremony of the Royal Guards on His Majesty the King's birthday this year will be different in pattern, as this is the first time in history that His Majesty the King will take the salute from the Ratchapratasama Home Pavilion in Glaigangwon Palace of Prachuapkhirikan Province. On the day, the Royal Guards will march from Glaigangwon Palace to Petkasem Road and take 2 right turns to come to a designated point next to the Ratchapratasama Home Pavilion. There, the Supreme Commander of the 3 armed forces will lead an oath-taking ceremony. A royal speech is also expected. The ceremony is to demonstrate the unity of the Royal Guards and their loyalty to His Majesty the King. Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has addressed the nation to call on all sides to cooperate with the government in creating peace and moving Thailand past the current political turmoil. Prime Minister Yingluck appeared on TV Pool a few hours after the anti-government protesters declared their victory in tearing down the barricades erected around Government House. The Premier admitted that normalcy had not been restored in the capital, but the situation was considered improving. Authorities have been instructed to be lenient with the protesters and avoid violent confrontations. Ms. Yingluck added that the government wished to find solutions which would bring long-term peace to the Thai people, although there were still differing political views in the society. The Premier stated further that she had already invited academics, businessmen, the protesters, as well as representatives of the people from all walks of life to participate in a national political reform forum where all voices would be heard. The Prime Minister concluded her statement by encouraging all Thais to be united for His Majesty the King on the special occasion of his 86th birthday this month. The Foreign Ministry has assured foreign ambassadors of the government's patience with the anti-government demonstrators, as several countries have offered to be an intermediary. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Surapong Wichakchaikun has summoned a meeting with ambassadors and representatives from 60 countries and 8 international organizations, during which he explained the situation to them and affirmed that the government would be patient with the demonstrators in order to prevent possible violence. As of now, 10 countries have expressed their concerns over the current political conflict in Thailand. According to the minister, Switzerland, England, The United States and China have currently expressed their willingness to act as a mediator to help settle the conflict, as they all want to see peace restored in this country. The government is open to all suggestions and is willing to consider proposals from those countries. The minister also played down rumors that officers have been using live bullets against demonstrators, saying it was a distortion of facts, as the government would never hurt the people. He also voiced his concerns to the ambassadors over possible interference from a third party. Minister Sotapong has recently been assigned by the Thai Premier Yingluck Shinawatra to oversee the operation of the Center for the Administration of Peace and Order, or CAPO. Despite the fact that the tension between the government and the anti-government demonstrators has toned down, foreign media are still paying a lot of attention to the situation. And we are now joined by spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kun Sek Wanameti. Good morning, Kun Sek.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. How do the foreign media view the overall situation in Thailand, and what did the foreign minister tell them regarding the situation?
Yes, as you may recall, the foreign minister spoke to the diplomatic community on the 2nd of December. There were about 60 representatives. Amongst those, there were 37 ambassadors. And that was on December the 2nd on the afternoon. But at that meeting, he reassured the diplomatic community that the approach of the Thai government, that the government respects the freedom of expression, the freedom to assemble within the bounds of the constitution, that the government is determined to uphold democracy, and that the government has exercised utmost restraint in the use of force to avoid any violence or any clashes, and that the government is eager to hold negotiations with all stakeholders to find a peaceful solution. Now, of course, as you said, 10 governments have issued their statements, which is in line with the government approach, basically to exercise restraint and to find a peaceful solution. Mm-hmm. And then recently, several embassies in Bangkok have also issued statements. For instance, the US Embassy, the UK Embassy, and the EU delegation in Bangkok, which represents all 27 EU countries. Again, they have also called for exercise of restraint and to find a peaceful solution. Now, for the travel advisories, 34 countries have issued travel advisories, and 2 economies, namely Taiwan and Hong Kong. But for the Hong Kong travel advisory, they have changed the level to the extent that they discourage tourists to travel to Bangkok. Other travel advisories have advised the tourists to avoid the various protest sites in Bangkok, but it's Hong Kong that they have discouraged their tourists to visit Bangkok. And that, of course, has reduced the number of tourists from Hong Kong. We have received reports that tour operators in Hong Kong have cancelled or postponed their travel program for their tourists.
Right. Now, Kun Sek,
yes, yes.
These 34 countries and 2 colonies that you said they've issued warnings, do you see this affecting the country's image very much or the economy very much?
Yes. I think that, as of yesterday, I think now that there's a pause, a slight pause, we just hope that the government, that the Prime Minister has asked Deputy Prime Minister Hong Tae to consult with all the stakeholders in having this open national forum with academics and all stakeholders to find a solution, a peaceful solution. I think that should be a step. It's certainly a step forward in the right direction. But at the same time, of course, the international community and the international media, they will closely follow developments after the celebration of His Majesty the King's birthday. So I suppose events which would unfold on the 6th, 7th onwards, that would be closely monitored by international governments and the international media. But of course, they will also monitor the progress in the establishment of this open forum, national forum, with all stakeholders.
Right. So given the government's stance of wanting to hold negotiations and having this forum, as you say, what do you expect will happen next?
Well, I think on the part of the foreign governments, they would probably issue statements welcoming the progress of developments and asking all stakeholders to remain committed to the process of an open dialogue, and again to exercise any sort of restraint in the use of force or violence. All stakeholders, I mean all sides. When the international community, when they issue statements, they always refer to all sides. So it's a positive step in the right direction, and of course the embassies here in Bangkok, and also our Thai embassies and consulates abroad, we've been feeding them information of developments that has transpired, so that our embassies and consulate generals can inform the international media abroad and also the respective governments of the developments in Thailand.
Mm-hmm. Now, it seems that all eyes are on Thailand at the moment, and the Foreign Ministry seems to be doing its job at the moment. Is there anything else that you think the Foreign Ministry can do to provide reassurance to the international community?
I think the role of the Foreign Ministry is just to make sure that the accurate information is disseminated, so that governments and the foreign business community can analyze their assessment based on accurate information. Because, of course, with the recently there's been mixed information. Some information have been with allegations that it's been distorted. Some information, the accurate information, has not been reported to the extent that would reassure the business community or the foreign governments of the events in Bangkok.
Okay. Is there anything you want to say to the public and folks out there that are joining the demonstration?
Just to reassure that, as the Prime Minister has reiterated, that we have also reiterated to the foreign community that the government respects the freedom of expression, the freedom to assemble, but of course within the bounds of the Constitution, and that utmost restraint it will be exercised not to use force.
All right, then. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
ครับขอบคุณครับ
And that was Kun Sek Wanameti, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, talking to us about the current situation in the country and what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is doing at the moment. The tourism business in the southern province of Songkhla has been vigorous, with a large number of Malaysian tourists crossing the border to the island over the weekend. Most of them came by buses, vans, personal cars, or choppers. The most popular place in this provincial resort was Samila Beach, where tourists posted and took pictures with the bronze mermaid statue or with high waves from the sea. Songkhla has been a prime tourist attraction for Malaysians for decades. The city offers guests from neighboring countries with a variety of activities, including shopping, eating, and sightseeing. The political situation in the country has sent no impacts to the tourism sector. And that's the end of our first segment for this morning. We now take a short break, but coming up next, the consumer confidence has hit a new low during the past 22 months. Don't go away. Newsline has the details.
Open the world of information. Embrace public participation. Present Thainess to the world. New dimension of the government's public relations. The 80th anniversary of the Public Relations Department. Creative media for the society. Mobilizing Thailand towards the ASEAN community.
For those who have Android smartphones, you can download a PRD News application by searching for PRD News English in Play Store. That way, you can stay up to date with the latest happenings in Thailand.
Welcome back to Newsline, and first in our business stories, Thailand's consumer confidence has hit a new low during the past 22 months amid rising political tension in the capital. The University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce, or UTCC, revealed that the Consumer Confidence Index fell for the 8th straight month in November, slipping to 75 from 76.6. The continuous drop in consumer confidence showed that the public are concerned with ongoing political instability, the country's economic slowdown, and the global economic uncertainty. The university predicted that the usual holiday spending at year-end will not be as robust as in the previous years due to rising living costs. The Commerce Ministry's data suggested that inflation accelerated in November, mainly due to higher food and beverage prices. The Thai baht fell 0.2% to 32.2 baht against the greenback, as protesters seeking the ouster of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra are set to continue their rally until the government agrees to set up a People's Council. The inflation rate rose less than 1% in November, while the average inflation rate in the first 11 months represented a 2.24% increase. Deputy Permanent Secretary for Commerce, Urawi Ngaurungrang, has revealed that the inflation rate in the month of November stood at 104.86, 0.08% increase month on month, and 1.92% rise compared to the same period of last year. The average rate in the past 11 months of 2013, according to her, rose about 2.24% compared to last year's figure, thanks to the increasing prices of food products. The Deputy Permanent Secretary for Commerce also expected that next year the inflation rate will be in the range of 2 to 2.8%, under the GDP expansion of 3 to 3.5%. The average price of crude oil will be around 95 to 115 US dollars per barrel, and the Thai currency will swing in the range of 29 to 34 baht against the American dollar. The SET index on Tuesday rose by 9.63 points to close at 1,383.89 points, following the improving political situation. However, investors' concerns over the shrinking tourism growth were a negative factor for the trading activity. The SET index trading value on Tuesday was over 48.54 billion baht. The top 5 stocks with the highest trading values were Kasikorn Bank, or K-Bank, True Corporation, or True, Siam Commercial Bank, or SCB, Airports of Thailand, or AOT, and Jasmine International, or JAS Jazz. Analysts said SET increased in the afternoon as political tensions decreased. They, however, indicated that the uptrend today was limited by the protest tendency to drag on until the beginning of 2014 and their impact on the tourism sector. The Tourism Authority of Thailand, or TAT, earlier reported that foreign tourist arrivals were expected to decline from the end of this year until the beginning of 2014. The agency said December 2013 might see growth in arrivals of only 2.2%, much lower than its usual two-digit expansion during the high season. And before we take our next break, let's have a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
ายสมดุลทางธรรมชาติและมนุษย์ก็เป็นผู้ประสบภัยพิบัติจากธรรมชาติร่วมสร้างอนาคตลดภัยพิบัติระดมพลังพลิกฟื้นคืนผืนป่าในทุกชุมชนทั่วประเทศ For those who have Android smartphones, you can download a PRD News application by searching for PRD News English in Play Store. That way, you can stay up to date with the latest happenings in Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. The Transport Ministry is preparing measures to accommodate well-wishers traveling to Hua Hin in Parachop Khirikan Province on the occasion of His Majesty the King's 86th birthday. Transport Minister Chachat Sitipan said a free train service leaving Hua Lamphong Station will be available to members of the public wishing to travel to Hua Hin from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the period of December 4th to 5th. Commuters can also catch free bus rides provided by the transport company from the Victory Monument and the Southern Bus Terminal to Hua Hin. Parking spaces have also been prepared for those traveling by personal car. His Majesty the King has granted permission for a grand public audience to be held at the Glaigangwon Palace in Hua Hin for the public to pay tribute to him in celebration of his birthday. His Majesty is scheduled to appear at the Ratchapracha Samakom Pavilion to greet his well-wishers. Petgasem Road and the road adjoining the palace have been decorated with national flags and royal flags to welcome His Majesty as well as well-wishers. Throngs of Thais and foreigners are visiting a cultural fair in honor of His Majesty the King, which is taking place until December 8th at Siam Paragon Shopping Center in downtown Bangkok. On the second day of the cultural event under the name ASEAN in Praise of the Supreme Artist, representatives of Thailand included the Thai Youth Orchestra and a dance troupe who performed 2 traditional Thai dances. There were also cultural performances from Laos, Singapore, Myanmar, Korea, and China. Another highlight of the fair was a Bangkok Jazz Band concert, which featured music composed by His Majesty the King. The event is being held until December 8th, 2013 at Park Paragon of Siam Paragon. And that's all we have for you in today's edition of Newsline. If you have comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. We're going to say goodbye with the one and only corn eating competition in Pak Chong district of Nakhon Ratchasima. Have a wonderful day. I'm Sandra Hanutsaha. Sawasdee ka.